Wait, hold up. Do you guys know what time it is? It's funky hours. What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 6 ranking. And yes, that's the last time I have to utter that title. We're here for the penultimate finale, the final 8 tracks. And yeah, it's been quite the ride, hasn't it? I've been loving seeing this game rise up from what it started out with Mario Kart and the Wii U, seeing the DLC there, getting ported to the Switch, and now finding the Booster Course Pass ending as well. With so many tracks, dude, 96, it is really insane. So strap in and let's get ready to review these final 8 tracks and of course the 4 characters. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let's jump right into the action, shall we? Alright, so we are starting out with the first course, which is going to be Rome Avanti, which is the second to last tour city track. And yeah, honestly, I kind of had a few expectations going into this track, as one of our amazing community members was actually hyping up this one quite a bit. Of course, the capital of Italy. I don't know. Let's just kind of go through it, because I feel like this is an alright city track. I think the roads are a bit too narrow, and I think some of the route choices were interesting to say the least. Anyhow, you start off the track by going on top of the Colosseum, making your way back down to the city itself, where you're going to go through a few narrow gates. I don't know if Rome is actually like this, because I've never been to Rome, but maybe make these a little, like, bigger, like, a little less small, because, like, we're racing here with 12 players, alright? Some of these turns are way too sharp, especially for, like, 200cc, in my opinion. You end up the lap by making a nice turn after going over some water. And yeah, that's pretty much it for lap 1. For lap 2, you pretty much go up for some more stairs, make your way back down, and that's pretty much it. Not really a lot of the section where it's small, like, kind of like the first lap. And then for lap number 3, you go to the Colosseum itself, which is pretty cool that they use chain jumps for that. I gotta give them credit for that. Compared to like London Loop, for example, that we got in Wave 3. The chain jump placement here seems a lot more fitting. Like, what else were you gonna put in the Colosseum? Outside of that, you pretty much go back to the small area that I mentioned already quite a bit from lap number 1. And yeah, you end up going back to that section, but now there's a glider ramp, which makes it a lot more exciting. And there are some fuzzies flying around, which is definitely not an enemy that we see quite a lot in Mario Kart, at least. Usually more reserved for the new Super Mario Bros. Series. And that's pretty much it for the track. So, yeah, you kind of already guessed my opinion. I think it was a fun one. It had some great music, I would have to say so. It was an alright city track. It was a bit too narrow. I did not really enjoy that. It was not... It's a mid-tier for me personally in terms of the city tracks themselves, and I would have to give this track a B tier. A solid city track, but nothing more. Up next is one of the most iconic Mario Kart tracks of all time, DK Mountain, and we were expecting either this track or Dino Dino Jungle to make it into the DLC when it first got announced. Because these tracks are kind of similar, both for Mario Kart Double Dash. One of them, of course, is an Angry Mountain, you know, based off of Donkey Kong. And then the other one is a mountain full of dinosaurs. Both have the exact same music, but of course are 2 completely different tracks. In the end, we got ourselves DK Mountain, and yeah, this track kind of feels similar to DK Summit, but we're going to get into that as we get into the track itself first, which starts out by you going up, getting some items, making a nice turn, and then getting launched into a cannon, making your way towards the mountain. Now, the cool thing about that is that when you get shot up, you could basically see the entire track while you go up, which is really awesome. Make your way down the mountain is a rush in and of itself, and you pretty much go forward because of the fun tricks and, like, bumpy road. It makes it feel a lot more fun, I would say. Yeah, and then when you're down a little further, you go through some rocks, or I guess they're falling down. You gotta try to avoid them. You gotta make a few turns, and then the original gap jump returns from a Mario Kart Double Dash, and of course that also returned in the remake that we got for Mario Kart Wii, which is a pretty cool gap cut. It's still existing, and which is awesome. We've been seeing a lot of this DLC as well, with like tracks like Mushroom Gorge and DK Summit that I mentioned earlier as well. Now, unfortunately, there's a fence for the second one, so you can't double cut it anymore, and you gotta do it a little bit more differently, but hey, it's better than nothing. And then you end the track, of course, with the most infamous Mario Kart, or, you know, straight away, which is the bridge, which you can now trick on, which is really awesome. This bridge is so well known because, you know, if you leave a banana on there, or throw a shell backwards, it's almost impossible to not get hit by, and there's this one clip of Daisy, you know, just getting absolutely destroyed while being in first for Mario Kart Wii and ending in 12. So definitely a classic track. I would have to say it's kind of redundant getting this track again. That is purely because of the fact that we got DK Summon, as I mentioned earlier, and it might be like, oh, but one DK track is different from the other. Well, they're both mountains where you get shot up with a cannon at the start when you make your way down. Yeah, of course, it's different. There's cap jumps in both of them, and they're both DK themed. I don't know. It seemed a little redundant. I think it would have been a better choice to have Diner Jungle. Still, however, this is one of the most iconic tracks in Mario Kart history, so we couldn't have gotten the Booster Course Pass without it. And, of course, we needed some more Double Dash representations, as this is the final Double Dash track in the DLC. If we only got 3, I feel like at least 4 were needed. I don't know, we're going to get into the balancing was a bit weird when it comes to Mario Kart Double Dash and compared to something like Mario Kart Wii. But for DK Mountain, I'm going to give it a nice B tier. We've definitely seen it before already in the DLC. It's a fun track, and it's definitely a blast make your way down the mountain. Wave 6 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass did get revealed in the September 2023 Nintendo Direct with this track, which is a Daisy Circuit from Mario Kart Wii, which is the 7th Mario Kart Wii track, which is insane. And another circuit, because, you know, we need more of those. I do have to say, though, this is probably my favorite circuit in the entire series, if not for Mario Kart DS. So these last 2 circuits have been a lot less underwhelming than the ones that we got earlier in the DLC. Anyhow, let's get into this track, and it's kind of a shorter one. You make your way forward, and you make your way through some buildings. It's a nice sunset beach town, I would say so. Really cool how Daisy Cruiser is, you know, lying there at the docks, as we saw the Cruiser for the first time in Wave 1 with Coconut Mall. We also saw it in Wave 2 with Sydney Sprint. And I don't think we saw it for Waves 3 and 4. I do know, of course, it was playable in Wave 5, and now we see it again. So that is really cool. I really like that. It really reminds me of Mario Kart Double Dash. It doesn't really have to do anything with the track, but it's just a nice aesthetic choice. You make your way further along with some cool Daisy and Luigi statues, which are kind of like circles, so you can go around either the left or the right way. It is up to you. I really enjoy the shortcut that's in front of there, though, which has been turned into a glider this time around, where you go through a building. You can use a mushroom for this, but you can also do it shroomless. Then you go make your way through a tunnel and pretty much go through the final few turns. Really like how you can go on the walkway to be, you know, more on the left, to be, you know, more inward near the end. Always been a big fan of that for this map. Really cool addition of the boost panels as well, I must say. Outside of that, yeah, I don't know, if the track feels shorter to me than it used to back during Mario Kart Wii, but it is one of the most aesthetically pleasing tracks in not just the DLC, but in the entirety of Mario Kart 8. Like we were talking about earlier on the DLC, how this DLC, the Booster Course Pass, has kind of been underwhelming when it comes to the graphics, but especially this wave and especially this track looks absolutely sublime. That's probably the best thing I have to say for the driving around on it. So far, it's probably the weakest one, but I would have to say it's on the same level as Romavanti and DK Mountain. I'm going to give Daisy Circuit a B tier. The final one of the really awesome Tour original tracks is Piranha Plant Cove, originally put into Mario Kart Tour in February of 2023, and I've kind of been memeing this track to death before, you know, it came out, because, you know, if you say Piranha Plant Cove, you can say PP Cove. It's kind of funny, you know, but, you know, when it actually came out, it shocked me on how cool it is, as this is an underwater temple based off of PD Piranha. Never knew this guy had an underwater temple. Like, we gotta hit him up at some point. Anyways, getting into the track, you kind of start out just going through the temple, jumping back down into some water. The water actually, like, the water makes it feel like this track was really made for the underwater physics, compared to most underwater tracks, which sometimes have turns where it feels like it's kind of awkward to turn in them with the weird slow turning that the underwater has. But this one really doesn't. You'll make your way back out, back to more of a temple area, glide back down with a really nice view, just like the Daisy Circuit. This track also looks really nice. Definitely doesn't feel like this track was made for tour, but it feels like it's straight up just an original track for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You do another turn, you go to lap 2, where you go through more of the temple as well. For tour players, this is pretty much Piranha Plant Cove 1. You go through some more boost panels, do a few more tricks, and then you go into lap number 3. Where you see the eel once again at the top of your screen, like just, you know, swimming around, which is such a cool aesthetic choice with all those fishes and eels that are just swimming around. Makes it feel like you're at an aquarium, like you used to be where you were at as a kid in like the zoo or whatever. It was such a nice aesthetic choice. You continue on, there's some more guiders you can trick on, and you end the race by going under the temple for two final turns, as well as a mushroom cut, which, yeah, it can save you time, but it's not the worst that we've seen in this game, as there are quite a few final cuts right before the finish line with mushrooms, which honestly sometimes doesn't really benefit the track's design. For this one, doesn't feel like it's as bad, but that's pretty much the end of Piranha Plant Cove, an aesthetically strong track, which definitely was lacking with some of the two original ones so far, but it has its own identity. It gives more room, or I guess more lore to PD Piranha, which is not a character I thought we needed more of, but hey, he got into the DLC, we got this track, absolute banger. It's fun to drift around in, and honestly, this might be one of my favorite two originals. Like, it's so hard to choose between Squeaky Clean, Yoshi's Island, Ninja Hideaway, Merry Mound, now this one as well. Like, the two originals have honestly been great. I know not everybody's a big fan of the cities, but the two originals are super fun. And this is one of my favorite tracks in the entire DLC. I'm going to give it an S tier to Piranha Plant Cove. Okay, so we're taking a little small detour and a little break in between, as we're going to be talking about the characters that got added this wave, being Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, Pauline, and Peachette. All four of these are some pretty cool characters. I would say Diddy Kong and Funky Kong were the two characters most people wanted. Of course, Funky Kong is really popular from Mario Kart Wii. And of course, Diddy Kong, like, why wasn't he included in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? We got characters that were missing from Mario Kart 8, like Bowser Jr., Dry Bones, and King Boo in there, that were like in most Mario Kart installments, but Diddy was just kind of left out to begin with. Very happy those got added. Of course, Diddy Kong is more of a middleweight class, and Funky has the same weight class as a Wario and a few other heavies, but it's nice finally knowing that we have the same amount of Kongs, or I guess more than the Zelda and Animal Crossing characters, and also from Splatoon, because Donkey Kong needs more representation in those series, honestly. Pauline also seemed somewhat inevitable. Like, she's so big from back in Mario Odyssey, made it into Mario Strikers, made it into Mario Golf, made it into Mario Tennis Aces, so why not Mario Kart at this point? I like the new biker outfit they put on her, and honestly, a great addition together with the other princesses, and also has a pretty good weight class being around Peaches. And the final character is the new meta-defining character, the character we're all waiting for. Peachette. Peachette is a new meta-defining character, having the same stats as Yoshi and Birdo, Kamek, all those characters that have been going crazy the past few months ever since the Wave 4 release. And I think it's kind of funny. Ending with a Peach reskin feels kind of weird and also lame, but she's kind of a funny haha addition, because we only were expecting 2 more characters to be added, so it's nice having Peachette here as well. And giving her a biker outfit as well was kind of unexpected and a nice addition. Alright, enough yapping about the characters, let's continue on with the final cup of the DLC. So here we are, the final tour city track, which is based off of Madrid, Spain, Madrid Drive. Honestly, one of the worst titles in terms of the namings when it comes to the track. Really doesn't have much to do with the track, but we also had Athens Dash during the last wave, and it isn't really the strongest title in the world. Yeah, we had Vancouver Velocity, for example, which is pretty cool. Speedway of Singapore. We had Berlin Byways, which is pretty cool. Amsterdam Drift, but this is just kind of too generic. I don't know. Maybe that's just me with a little nitpick. Also, before this track got unveiled, I thought Barcelona was the capital of Spain, so I have learned something new thanks to Mario Kart. Anyhow, let's get into Madrid Drive, which probably has the most variety in any of the city tracks. Let's just start out. So you pretty much start out, you know, on the track, you do a few turns, or you go for one of those really small passageways that we saw during Rome Avanti as well. And then you go through a market where there's a sleeping wiggler, kind of reminiscent of a DS Mario Circuit from Wave 4. As you go through a nice little museum hall, 2 of them actually, which is pretty cool, with a piranha plant in there where the music changes. I always really like it when tracks do that. That's something that just gives a track a lot more personality than it would without it. It's kind of like the Chinatown on Singapore Speedway, the Muna 3DS Rainbow Road, Koopa Cape, you know. It breathes a life into the track, I guess. Anyways, going into lap number 2, you go right this time around at the starting line, where you eventually end up back at the marketplace that I mentioned earlier in lap number 1, where the Wiggler is now awake and is actually walking around, which is pretty neat. You continue on, go through a glider section with some geysers spewing up water, just like in Singapore Speedway on lap 2, which is pretty fun to trick through. Nothing too mind-breaking this lap. And then we go into lap number 3, where there's some more generic turns on the road, but there's a really cool ending where you go into the football stadium, the Santiago Bernabeu, for you football fans out there, where Real Madrid usually plays, where there are some Goombas in shoes with soccer balls shooting them around, and the music changes once again, which is really neat, kind of fitting the football stadium aesthetic. And then you just end up driving the last little bit back towards the starting line, and that is pretty much it. Honestly, when it comes to variety, it's top. It takes a little while sometimes in between to get there, like with lap 3 over towards the Santiago Bernabeu. It takes a little while. I don't know. It's cool that idea now finally got realized though, after we got a small glimpse of it with the glider section back during Singapore Speedway. So that is really neat. Outside of that, yeah, I don't really have much to say. I would say there are some city tracks with better aesthetics, like Vancouver Velocity, Singapore Speedway, and I guess you could somewhat call... Yeah, you could somewhat call New York Minute in there as well, because like most of the city tracks are all at daytime. Like if you look at Amsterdam Drift, London Loop, Berlin Byways, Madrid that we're now talking about, and LA Labs all on the same one. If you're just looking at the regular road, I don't know if you could see like any difference between them aesthetically. Like if you put them at different types of day, that would really help out. Alas, that's just a minor nitpick. I think aesthetically it could look a little stronger. Outside of that, I think Madrid is one of the best city tracks, definitely up there with Sydney Sprint, with Singapore Speedway, and Vancouver. I just wish it had some more aesthetic to its own though. So for that, I'm going to give it a nice A tier. And yeah, it was fun with these city tracks. I don't know if we're ever going to see those ever again, but I really appreciate what those did. 3DS Rosalina's Ice World is up next, which bumps that game's tracks amount all the way up to 4. And it was a strange inclusion. This was the only track I didn't predict right during my predictions, and rightfully so, because everybody thought Piranha Plant Slide was going to be here, but that track is just not going to be remade from Tour. Anyhow, if they could have chosen another track for Mario Kart 7, this is probably one of the most aesthetically pleasing ones, because 3DS Rosalina's Ice World, at least in Mario Kart 7, for what I remember, it felt kind of empty to me. The idea was there. Was a very cool idea. I thought that there was a lot to work with, you know, kind of frozen over planet of a bunch of mixes of Mario Galaxy things, like the Common Observatory, like a few of the houses from the Common Observatory later on the level, but nothing too much. It felt like there wasn't really much going on outside of that. Anyhow, let's get into the track, where you first off start out with a nice kind of like halfway loop. I don't know, it's really cool that they put some what should we call it, half pipes there now, because it feels like it was made for those half pipes, where you can either go below during the or you know, in the water, or you can go atop, where there are now some penguins, kind of reminiscent of Snowland from Wave 2, just walking around or sliding around. It just feels a lot more lived in. It feels like these penguins are actually living in the houses that are there, which I don't even know if there were houses in the original versions, but either way, it feels a lot more, you know, realized with the idea. Then you go into the cave that was already there, and yeah, you have the choice of either going right, where there are some boost panels, or left, where there's not really too much, but you're on the inside. I always go for the boost paths, they're kind of fun. After you've done the final jump, you can do one more mushroom shortcut I can add it, and that is pretty much it. When it comes to Christmas themed tracks, this DLC is done really good. Like the snow ones, kind of like Merry Mountain for Christmas. You had Snowland itself, of course. We had DK Summit back there in Wave 4. Like, they're all really fun. I would say this one is the most aesthetically pleasing one. Like, Merry Mountain was very good when it launched back there in Wave 3, but this one, with how nice the Common Observatory looks and the ice, with the nice night sky aesthetic. Really cool. I still don't know why they didn't do a track where it's just, you know, you in space and there's Mario Galaxy stuff around, why it'd have to be frozen over. I don't know about that. I also don't know where the music reference is from. Like, it's gonna be weird now playing on Cloud Top Cruise where there's, you know, Gusty Garden playing and here it's just a song playing. I don't know. I think the remix is pretty nice, all things considered. Still, I feel like the track is a little empty. I don't think it's the best snow track, but it's definitely a fun one out there. And very well deserved to get into this game. I would give it a nice A tier. Might be a bit higher than most people, but I think the upgrade from 7, you can definitely tell that this track has gotten a nice little overhaul. SNES Bowser's Castle 3 is the second to last track of not just this wave, but also the entire Booster Course Pass. And it's kind of ironic how we're going to be ending with a Bowser's Castle going into a Rainbow Road. But the SNES one was not expected at all. And it was also not expected to be this much of a banger, actually. It's actually insane how good this track is. So let's just jump into it. First of all, the remix, absolutely a banger. Shout out to Mythronics for letting me know when the DLC first got announced. And they should remaster one of these courses, because, you know, they usually, well, in the original version, they remixed the Super Mario World final boss theme, which is definitely not a theme we've heard remixed a lot. Even though Mario is a series where they remix a lot of older music that they've made. That one has really gone untouched, and now that they've given it another go, it definitely is a banger. Outside of that, the track looks super nice, and once you get into it, you go through a few nice turns. There's a big area where you could choose whether to go left or right. You could choose which way you want to go. All kind of similar, where you can all trick on them. In Anti-Gravity, by the way, wanted to say that, a SNES track in Anti-Gravity. This is one of the few SNES tracks that they didn't really port over. SNES Mario Circuit 3. SNES Rainbow Road. Anyhow, continuing on, you go through another nice turn, a few more, and then you have the option to go either on the pillars. I don't know if it's actually faster to go via the inside, but there's different options we can go to. And I always really like that in a Mario Kart track, because it makes it so that not all 12 players are going to be in the exact same area. Of course, there's going to be a faster round, everybody's still going to do so, but it at least gives you the option. Anyhow, continuing on, you do one final big, like, 90-degree turn, where you can do a shortcut. That is the one thing where this track does kind of lack in. You trick off, and that is it once you go past the thwomps. Really like that there are some bone piranha plants there as well instead of the regular ones. It gives itself a different identity compared to the, you know, usual Bowser's Castles or tracks with piranha plants in them in general. Like, I don't know what else to say to this track outside of, you know, it's so good. It's so much fun to play on, especially on 200cc. With the high intensity music, it feels like you're rushing through the map. So many turns, so much stuff going on. Anti-Gravity got added. This is the only SNES track in Mario Kart 2 that they fully remade. And you can definitely tell they put a lot of energy that is usually put in their GBA remakes into this one. Like, the only thing I could say is I wish there was like one more turn to make it longer, but it already feels complete as is. I know a lot of people didn't want an SNES or GBA Bowser's Cast, would rather one from N64, DS, Wii, or GameCube, but I would personally have to say that I don't know if they could have done as much fun of a job as this one did, because, like, first of all, it's such a surprise that it's so good, and second of all, it is definitely among some of the best Bowser's Castles in the entire series. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give this track an S tier. The final track of not just this wave, but the entire Booster Course Pass is Mario Kart Wii's Rainbow Road, and I'm just going to say it out here first and foremost. It is an F tier. It is absolute horse. It's bad. It's garbage. Now, of course not. It's gonna be an S tier. Like, this is the easiest S tier in the entire world. This is the second Rainbow Road, ladies and gentlemen, of the Booster Course Pass, as we already got 3DS Rainbow Road in Wave 3. And before then, we already have 3 Rainbow Roads as well, from Mario Kart 8, the original, the SNES one, of course, a classic, and the N64 one, which got made into one lap, just like the 3DS Rainbow Road. So that means that this game has 5 Rainbow Roads, only missing the ones from GBA, DS, and that is, I think, it from what I know, which is, and GameCube, of course. That's just insane. That is wild. We're only missing 3 out of the 8 Rainbow Roads. How could I forget about the GameCube one? Anyhow, this track is this time around fully in Anti-Gravity, which makes it easier. But it doesn't, like, ruin the track, kind of like a map like Sky Sunday. Like, it definitely feels like the Anti-Gravity makes it feel like a lot more in its place here in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe compared to Wii. Like, it's going to make things floatier so that you can make your jumps easier, land and do your drifts and all of that a lot easier. But I mean, you're in space, and it kind of makes sense. The turns, most of it is in place, even including the gap jump that was on this map. I don't know what's up with Mario Kart Wii and gap jumps, but they have got a ton of them. So once you go through the first part, you go through the little waggly part where you can just waggle your controller and you just do your jumps, kind of like a Mushroom Gorge. You land down with some big rings. You gotta go around those. Then you get to the area with the gap jump, of course. Go through a nice zooming area. I guess it's just kind of like a teleportation, it feels like. And then you go through a half pipe. I would have to say this half pipe is quite janky. You can either do it very well in terms of your jump, or not do it well at all. Kind of like with a dead angle. Once again, we saw quite a bit with half pipes already, just like in Koopa Cape as well as Athens Dash as well before. Which is more of a follow the booster course path rather than this track. Outside that, you just do a few more jumps, or like you choose between two paths, do a jump, and that is pretty much it. Yeah, if you want to make a comeback on this track, it's going to be quite difficult, because it just doesn't really work. But this feels like it's kind of like what Sky Sunday tried to do with fully anti-gravity, and like with fun jumps and turns, stuff like that, but then execute a lot better, as it's not just straightaways, there's stuff going on. And like it feels bad saying that out loud, that this is a better version of Sky High Sunday. I feel like this is aesthetically one of the best tracks in the entire game, and there's so much detail in here. Of course, you know, it's the 8th Wii track, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna stop with any of this fan service for Mario Kart Wii, because if you drop down, you're a meteorite, just like in Mario Kart Wii, which is like a detail we did not need at all, but such a neat detail to me regardless. Anyhow, I don't know what else to say on this track, because it's one of the best tracks in the entire game. It's one of the best tracks in the series, and I know why it's regarded in that way. I know some people are trying to say that it's overrated. Yeah, I would say it's kind of overrated, but it is a really good track. I would say it's not the best track in the entire DLC, but it's quite great. So I'm going to give this track an S tier, the Wii Rainbow Road. So that's it, the end of a journey. The Booster Course Pass has been a very fun ride, and I hope you guys did enjoy it. I've been enjoying all of this with you guys on Twitch, and playing all the new ways when they came out, all the new characters, all the fun new modes I got included, such as custom items, and it turned out a bit better than I was expecting at first. We started out rough with Wave 1 and Wave 2 was an improvement, but not too much. And then Wave 3 is where it started to get somewhat good, also including some more modes and such. Rock Mountain was still the outlier in terms of the graphics department, but once we got into 2023 with Waves 4, 5, and 6, those maps looked on par. Very fun tracks, and overall, it's so worth it. Even if the first two waves were a little less good in terms of the quality, I would say that this is such a steal for a DLC. Like, if you count down to it, getting 48 new tracks means that you're paying around 52 cents per track, and that's so much new content. That's not even including all of the characters that you get with it as well. Like, it's such a good pickup. Editor's note, I forgot to include the Mii costumes. Those also got added this wave, and that was such a surprising addition that I kind of already forgot about it. But, like, that's even more for your money's worth. I hope you all enjoyed the ride that was the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. It was so much fun speculating. It was such a ride. And I can't wait to make more Mario Kart content with you guys in the future. Whether it's tournaments, stream highlights, shorts, or of course playing with you guys on stream. I hope you're all looking forward to it as much as I am. And I hope to see you guys next time.